video. In this video, we will be discussing about Docker, what is Docker and how we can use it for our projects. So if you are looking for some tool or your team is struggling to deploy applications to anywhere, then this video is for you. So most of your teams, like the developers, everyone have concern that the application is working on their system, but when the same application it will be deployed to cloud or any other developer, the same application it doesn't work, right? Because of the packages, dependencies, this kind of stuff. So that's the story behind the Docker. That's how the Docker built to leverage developers to build package, put all the dependencies all together and ship it to the cloud or anywhere. So by the end of this video, you will be comfortable with building Docker images, pushing the Docker images to registries, then pulling it. Then we will work on Docker Compose, services, auto scaling, and bunch of stuff. Along with that, we'll build our image, our project, and push it to Docker Hub. And finally, you will have a working application. We will work on Next.js project where we will build the project as a Docker image along with the Nginx proxy server, and we will run that project with the help of Docker Compose with multiple services and scaling options. So don't go anywhere. Let's get started. So what is Docker and why do we need it? So as I discussed before, you know how the traditional old work was going on, like all the developers they are working on their machines. Every machine have its own environment. Like some developers are working on Windows, some on Linux, some on Mac, and all environments are different. So once they ship their code to cloud or to any other developer to work on it, most likely it didn't work because of the platform dependencies and packages. So that's the thing which Docker helps. So Docker it's a containerization platform where what we'll do, we will put all of our code, all of our project dependencies, everything, and we will build this as a container, like as a image. And then we will use this image anywhere in the cloud, on developers, other developers, anywhere, and it will work without any platform dependency. It's totally platform independent. So let's see before Docker how the developers or how the applications are deployed, and with the help of Docker how the things are changed. So if you will see, before the developers or before the companies, they are using virtual machines, right, to deploy their applications. So let's suppose if they have three applications, they provision three virtual machines, they install, configure everything there. Okay, let's suppose if they are using VMware or Microsoft services, anything to provision the, or even the cloud, like they created bunch of different machines from AWS or Azure or anywhere, right? So all of these three applications, they have separate environment, right? And they have the utilizations, you have the size, you have the boot time, everything, all of these parameters are included, right? So you need to provision all VMs separately, configure the VM, and then give the resource which may not your application will be needed, right? And it's bunch of thing. So with the help of Docker, what will happen? You have the only one machine, like one host. It can be cloud, it can be local, it can be anywhere. And there we will install one tool, which is Docker Engine, that help us to containerize or to give us a virtual platform where we can run all of our applications, no matter the application have different environment or whatever it is, because it is properly isolated. And with the help of Docker, you can run as much as applications without any problem for your environment, like without thinking that you are running this on Linux or Windows or any machine. Just you have the Docker engine, and that will help you to run the container with the isolation. So in this case, you don't need to provision multiple VMs multiple operating systems, multiple dependencies, and extra resources. With the help of containers, you can just spin one VM and a tool like Docker engine, and you can run all of your containers are together. Which container need resource, it will consume automatically, and it's properly optimized also, and there is no boot up time. So that's the main thing with the virtual machines and with the containerized application. Like in this example, again, you are seeing that on the left side we have the containerization application. Like let's suppose this is one Linux server on EC2, and then on this Linux server we install the Docker, and in the same server we are running bunch of applications. This application may be a Windows application, this is React.js, maybe this is Python app, or this is Golang, anything, right? But if you will see, if you want to deploy the same, let's suppose you have one application for Next.js and other application is for Python or Golang. In the containerized environment, you just need to spin up one virtual machine and you can run all of those images on the same virtual machine because they are isolated and it will work independently. They are platform independent. While with the virtual machine, let's suppose if you want to run Django, Go, Next.js, different, or maybe next same application with different versions, let's suppose Next.js and React.js with the versions mismatch. So for that, you need to spin up different VMs for all of your projects, right? So that will again consume the resources and bunch of other parameters there. So how simple it is to Dockerize your application. Let's use the generic terms, how we can Dockerize our application. So if you want to Dockerize any of your application, just one thing you need to write the Docker file. We'll see later what is Docker file and how we can write it, but the simple step is this one. What we'll do, you will write the Docker file. Docker file will contain all of your code and packages, dependencies, everything, and then you will build it. And once you build the Docker file, it will become a image, like Windows image, Linux image, like image package. And then you can run that package directly anywhere in your system, in your friend system, developer systems, clouds, or anywhere without any hurdle. And yeah, good thing is it will works well on your laptop, your developer laptop, on cloud, everywhere without any issues. So what are the main advantages of Docker? Why people are going towards this technology? So again, it's an open source platform and it's a containerized based platform. Okay, and as you know, containers, they are fast to create and start quickly because there are less resources are consumed and there is less boot time. And mostly this thing, it is used for the DevOps, right? In DevOps field, in DevOps project, for the proper CI/CD, continuous integration, like if you have a supply chain or pipelines like this one. So you build the images and you don't want more downtime or consume more resources. That's why you are going with the containers, right? And then you can see new containers, they can easily created, like automatically scaled as well also if you want to configure. So there is, let's suppose if your old application which is running in container, it get failed or something happen, you don't need to provision everything from start. Your container will be restarted with a single click of button. You can restart your container and everything will be there. Okay, and as you know, Docker is platform for independent. You can run the same stuff on any platform. Okay, and the last but not least, it's mainly for the performance. If you will compare the performance of your application or your environment, Docker versus VMs, you will see the difference. And also, if you are migrating from your traditional VM stuff to Docker, you will see the difference in terms of optimizations, also performance, also, and also the cost savings. So Typically, this will be the process. Like this is everything which is used in Docker. So the first step is we create a Docker file and then we will build an image from this file. This image we will push to registry. Registry, it's like cloud or anywhere where you want to store all of your images, like database kind of stuff. And then you can run that image as a container anywhere. You can run in your local system, you can run in your cloud anywhere. Just pull the image from your registry, like from your database, and run it. That's how simple Docker is. It's not complicated. It's a straightforward thing. We'll see everything today with the example, and hopefully you will be comfortable. So this is a typical Docker file. Like it depends on all applications. It can be different for all applications depending on the platform. Platform means the framework on which your application is built on, but the structure it will be same. So typically Docker file, what it contains. So let's suppose I have one project of Node.js, okay, and it is working locally fine on my system. I run Node.js server.js, it is running my backend server, everything is great, right? But now I want to Dockerize this application. For that, because it's a Node.js project, at start I will use from image. Like this is the base. Base mean you can say that it's a small virtualized operating system or image which you want to use. So I am saying I want to use node image, this version. So what is node image? Basically, you can say that someone created a small Docker file, a small container where he installed already all the packages, like he installed Node.js or any other dependencies already there, so that we don't need to worry about those dependencies. So this is a base image, like we are consuming someone image who already installed Node.js and any other dependencies. Then this is the environment. If you want to set up environment variables and pass environment to your containers, you can define here, but it's not mandatory. You can skip it also. Later on, we'll see the examples. And then you will see here, this is the main thing. Let's suppose if you want to run any command, you will use run and then the command. So what are the commands? So that will be the same commands which you use in your project. So let's suppose I'm saying create a directory in home app and then copy all of my code. This copy, this the first parameter is your local system. You are saying that copy all files from my local system dot forward slash app and put it in this inside the Docker in this path. And then after saying, I am saying, okay, working directory is this one, and then run npm install. It's the same stuff which you, let's suppose you clone a project, a Node.js project, for example. So what you do, or even a Python or any project, first thing you will install the dependencies, right? npm install, pip install, or anything. So same stuff you are doing here also. And then after that, okay, you copy your code into this image, Node.js image. Node.js image means someone already built one image, one virtual environment or one container where he installed already Node.js and any other dependencies. Just what you are doing, you are saying, okay, I will copy my code inside this container and then I will use npm install to install the packages. After that, cmd min commands, which command you want to run, you use node server.js to run your application. That's how simple it is. Docker 5. Sorry. Later on, we'll see how we will create the Docker file step by step. So you understand the stuff, right? Okay, in Docker file, this is an advanced step. This is mostly used for optimizing your images or reducing the size. That is called multi-layering. multi-image image. So what it is? So you are saying, let's suppose, for example, take this example. You are saying from Alpine. Alpine is a very minimized image which is used most of the projects because it doesn't have anything. It's a very minor package and lightweight. So you are saying, okay, consider this image as base and run this install wget in that image. Run apk, why it's used, because it's an Alpine image. Okay, you can, let's suppose if you're using Ubuntu image or any other image, Linux image, you can use apt update like how you use in Linux or any other environment. It depends on the image. Alpine, it's different. It's, so you can say it's the minified version. So you are saying in the base image, like Alpine, you want to install wget, this tool. And then you are saying use Golang image as a Go builder. Mean we are using one more image also, where we set the work directory and we copy all of our code there, and then we will run this command to build the project for Go. Okay, so in first step we install the wget. On the second image, by using the second image, we will build the project. So now we have the wget here as well, and we build the app also. So on the last step, what we are saying from base mean from this package, this layer, copy from Go builder. We're saying just copy the content from Go builder. What you want to copy? You want to copy this path, Go main, where second layer where it build the image. You just want to copy the content from second image and put it here, and then you run it the project. If you will see here, you can see the here. So base image, it have curl and wget. Go builder, it builds the project, it have main file. And then the finally from base you are saying copy this stuff here, use this stuff here, and also the Go project here. This is called multi-stage build or multi-stage Docker file. Multi-stage mean like you are consuming something, like first stage you are using for building, then in second stage you just taking that build file and put it there. So let's suppose, for example, let's suppose you have a React.js project. Okay, so in your first container you will build the project, and once you build the project, at the end you get the simple JS and HTML files, right? Minified version. But if you will run that container directly, what will happen? The container size is more. Let's suppose it's the size for that container is 1 GB, but you want to minimize the size or also the performance as well. So for that, what you can do? Okay, in first stage, you build your React.js project, but in the second stage, what you will do? You can say, okay, I want to use the Nginx service image and copy my build files like the HTML and CSS files from my base image and put it in the Nginx image and just run the Nginx image. So your size will get reduced to maybe 200 MB, 300 MB from 1 GB. That's the main purpose of Docker multi-stage build, mean where you are doing in steps. Like first image is building, second image is used for deploying. So the second image, it have less footprint, less size, and properly optimized. So sorry, this is once you write this Docker file, after that from this Docker file you can build a container. There is some commands we'll discuss later, but from that is the only file which you need to build your application or your convert your application into a container called Docker. We have this now, right? There is one concept called Docker Compose. What is Docker Compose? From the image you can see that if I will run multiple Docker inside a boundary or inside a workspace or stack, it is called Docker Compose. So simply what Docker Compose means that you are running more than one containers together. Let's suppose this first container is your Next.js application. This second container is your proxy server. This third is your Postgres server. This fourth is your Node.js server. And all of them are, four of them are linked. That's why you want to run it in a stack that is called Docker Compose. That's all. There is nothing much on Docker Compose. So this again example. You have the web app, Redis, and Postgres. You put in a stack or in a boundary and run it. That is called Docker Compose. A typical syntax for Docker Compose is like this. You define the services. Like you have, in this example, I have two services. I have web service and I have Redis service. So that is some stuff for web and that is some stuff for Redis and that is for web. That's the thing. Now let's go to the practical side and let's see how we can build the project, run the project, and do every stuff. And what are the parameters in the Docker file, Docker Compose, how to build the image, push the image, everything. Let's get started. First of all, if you're using Windows, Apple, Linux, any platform, you can just come to the docker.com and you can just download the Docker. Once you downloaded the Docker, your Docker will be, you can start your Docker here. Let's suppose I'll start my Docker. So once you download this application, there will be one application installed called Docker and it will looks like this at start. Okay, we can use CLI again also, but graphically it helps a lot for the beginners and sometimes for the professionals as well. So this will be the typical interface. We don't need this one for now. So what I want you to do, just download this Docker desktop application and run it and leave it. Okay. Now we are coming back to our CLI. So once you install the Docker, you will have one command line here called Docker. So once you hit it, you will see all the options whatever they have. There is one command Docker ps. What this command will do, it will show you all the containers which are running. But we will be not more focusing on the CLI because we have the GUI, right? So if any container is running, you can see here it will show you up here. Okay. Okay. So there is, let's see how we can run any container. What's the process? Okay. There is one public registry called Docker Hub. Docker Hub, you can say it's the database or something where you can find almost all of the images, like public images, even if they are paid, you can find it here. Let's suppose I want to run Nginx. So I'll just search here, you will see all the images for Nginx server. And that is the command to pull the image. It will download this image to your local. Okay, and if you will go to the tags mean what is the version you want to use. So let's suppose if you want to use latest, you can use like this or any specific version. Okay, and on every image there is documentation like how to run this, how to mount everything. So let's go with the basic and let's see what we can do. First of all, there is command docker run. At start we are doing CLI, later on we will just use directly the Docker files and Docker Compose. This is just for giving you like some insight like how we can use the Docker command to run an image. So there is command docker run. Okay, and what double dash name, you can specify name. like the container name, or if you will don't, let's see, and then the image nginx, docker run nginx. This is the simple command to run any Dockerized image, any container. So what we are doing, we are saying docker run nginx. So what it will do, it will check if the nginx container is in your system, it will run directly, otherwise it will download and run the container. And these are the container logs. Let's go back to Docker, and you can see here on the containers we can see, okay, one container is running this time. You can stop the container also here. You can pause the container, you can open terminal, everything. So let's click on the container. This is the thing, you can see all of the logs here. Container mean your application. This means you can check all of your application logs, everything here. Inspect, it's just, you can say that some probes or some environment for container. Let's suppose if you want to pass environment variables or something, it will come up here. And the ports also, it's defined, okay, which port, 80. Let's discuss port later on. And this is the terminal. Terminal mean you get inside the container. The same stuff you can do from here also. There are commands like docker execute exec or docker logs. You can find it online, but this is the most simplest way. You can just go inside any container and see what's going on. And one more thing, later on I will show you one web GUI tool also for the Docker, which you can deploy on cloud as well, and that will be helpful also for the debugging purposes of deploying. So this is the terminal where you can go inside the container, and you can see that it's some sort of kind of a virtualized small operating system. And this one, okay, maybe this command is, you can see here the that is a whole, you can say, the virtual environment, okay, but the thing is it's minimalized and only your application is running here with the server. Let's suppose in this container only the nginx server is running here, just that's the meaning of container, only your code or your dependencies, nothing else. So we know nginx is working, right? But the problem is how we can access our application. Like we all know Nginx, it runs on port 80, right? So if it have command localhost 80, so Nginx is responding to our message, right? The thing is how I can access the same on my system. Like, do I need to do localhost port 80? No, it doesn't work. So let's see how we can do it. So I'll just press Ctrl C, and if I will come up here, you can see this container, it's exited, meaning this container is stopped now. We will see how we can run the containers on background. So let's see how we can run the, if I will pass the parameter -d, it means detached mode. You can see the container is running now in background. See, this a new container created and it is running in the background. So let's suppose if I will do something else or something, it will not affect my running containers. So I'll just come up here and delete my old containers. Okay, what's the next parameter? I want to set the name for my container. Let's suppose I want to set name ent DevOps for my this nginx container. See, this is how we can set up the container name. Okay, so let's suppose I am testing some MMR or something. I want to run the container, and then once I press Ctrl C or Command C, I just want to terminate and delete it automatically also. So for that we have parameter called rm, mean remove. So once you run it, sorry, maybe the double parameters. Okay, just 1 minute. I will delete the old image because it is conflicting with the name. Name is same. Okay, I will rerun it again, but with the RM parameter. So you can see my container is running, right? So once I press Ctrl C, terminate, and you can come here, the container also it's deleted from here. That's the most basic CLI which you can use to run test any image. So let's suppose I was saying, sorry, we know that Nginx is working on port 80, but how I can access the port to my system? So for that, we have one parameter like -p. -me mean port. Okay, first thing is the local port. Local port, my system port, and then is the container port. So container port, we know inside container it's running on 80 or 443. Local port I want to run on, let's suppose 8080. So I hit run. Let's go to browser. Let's see if it's running or no. 8080. You can see welcome to Nginx and it's running. So if I will, you can see all the logs here. Also, if you will come up to application, you can check the logs here. Also, you can search and you can inspect and you can see your port is also mapped. You can go to terminals and you can check the stats for your application also, like the usage. So I will just terminate this container and coming back you will see your application is no longer working. That is how basic you can run any image just to play, like hello world kind of stuff. Okay, and then with let's continue with the same command. Let's suppose you want to pass environment variables. For that it's simple, you can just use env and which env, let's suppose name is equal to test and run it. Okay, invalid response, repository name. Okay, maybe I missed something, maybe it's like this. Okay, your container is running now. Let's go to container, inspect, and after inspecting you can see here environment name called test. Mean this environment variable it's passed to your container. If I will use env, you can see here name test which we passed from here. So that's how you can simply pass the environment variables. This CLI you will not use in any of company or in your projects. This is just for I'm just getting you familiar with the CLI. You will use Docker files and Docker Compose for all of your projects in companies or any project for any means. But this CLI is just for getting you familiar that this you can do, right? Okay, that's all I think so for CLI. We will not explore it more. Let's go to our project. So I have created one project called Next.js Docker. Next.js Docker. So this is a Next.js project. If I will use npm run dev, it's running on localhost 3000. Localhost 3000. Okay, currently it's in my system, right? I have installed Node.js in my system and then I create a project with Next.js. Mean everything is according to my system like my Mac. And you can see here, this is your Next.js application, right? Which is working locally. It can be your Python application, React application, any application. It's not necessary that it will be a web application. It can be a API or service or cron, some sort of which doesn't have any GUI. It can be. So again, it depends. Like for web, I'm just for the example I just took, but you can build anything. Like if it's an API or anything, you can just use it. No problem. Okay, so local, our application is working, right? What we need to build our application into container and run it so that our application will become independent, so we can run our same application in any environment without any platform dependency. Like we discussed before, what is the first thing we need to build the container? First thing is Dockerfile, and you can click here on Dockerfile. You can see this is the Dockerfile which we have used. I will remove some stuff now to make it more simple. Okay, this is the Docker file which we are using. From Node Alpine, I am using because React Next.js it's based on Node, so I'm using Node Alpine as a base image. Mean I am using some image which have already Node.js installed, so I don't need to worry about my dependency or anything. Then I am saying, okay, this is my working directory. Mean this is the main entry point, or this is the main directory when for my application. And then what you are doing, you are saying copy all of your packages dependency inside this folder, and then you are installing those packages npm install. After that you copy all of your files mean you are copying this whole code inside the container, and then after that you build npm run build. It will build your Next.js project. Expose 3000 mean the container it will be listening on this port. You can change it also, it's no problem, but container port like we see for Nginx it's port 80. So same you can define here. It can be dynamic, you can put any port which you want to expose, like expose for external connections. User node, this is for security, because if you will not define user it will build the image as a root. But for node, if you this image already have user called node, so I am using that user. Otherwise you can create a user. It's same like Linux or PowerShell script. Same stuff you are doing. You are just copying your application code there, run the command which you use to build the dependencies and build the image. After that you can use npm start to serve the build. That is the most simple way to build the Docker file. Currently we didn't add anything here, we are just doing simple. So I'll just save this one. How we will build this Docker file? Let's see. There is command for docker build. Okay, I'll just remove few stuff to simplify. So the command it will be like this: docker build tag mean what is your image name. Let's suppose I will say it entdev. Entdev is my image name, and then the path to your docker file dot, like because my docker file it's in my current directory I will use dot. So once you hit, you will see here it is start building your container, your image. So you can see here it is building everything, pulling the node.js image, then copying your code, then run these command inside, and then expose this pod, and finally run this command. You can see here, you can see all the steps: npm install, copy all the packages, everything, run build, exporting image. This command it will not be used during the building process. Command is used when you will run the image. Okay, so you can say that when you run any image, any container, the main entry point is command. The image it will see, okay, what is the command, what I need to run. So that is the command here. Okay, that's fine. Let's try to use our image which we just built. How we can use it's same docker run rm. Okay, what here we will just put our image name. What is the image name which we used? Dev, right? Okay, I want the container name to our image. This is the container name. If you don't want to specify, it's okay, you can just remove it for the simplicity. Okay, I'll just running my image dev. By default it goes with the latest tag. Okay, but if you will have different versions you can use it. Later on we'll see how we can build multiple versions. So I will just run my image. So you can see my image is running now next.js docker, and this is the command next start. Npm start, it means if you will see the package.json, you can see here next dot. So my command is running now. This means my image is running now. I can see the image here also, and you can see that the application is it's listening on port 3000. So localhost 3000. It okay. It should work, right? But it's not working. Why? Because we didn't map our port. So -p internally, like in our system we want to use 3000, and in this case the internal is also 3000. So let's for difference I will say okay 3001 I want to run. So my container is running now and it is available on 3001. Okay, 3000 is not working because we didn't expose, we exposed 3001. So once you run you can see it's that simple. It is how simple it is to dockerize your application. So before I was running on my local system, now I am using my container. I just create a simple docker file where will I use any base image and copy all of my code, run any command which I normally used like dependencies or build command, anything, and then finally cmd. Cmd means okay, once the container start, what the container needs to do, the container should start the project, right? Npm start. That is what it's doing. Before it was running on my local system, but now it is running on docker, on container. That's how simple it is, right? Let's explore the docker file more, a little bit more. Okay, okay, if anything else I am missing. Okay, okay, everything is same. Let's everything is same, nothing changed. Okay, env, remember before I told you you can define your env here, but again it's optional. If you don't want to define, you can ignore this, no problem. But if you want to define, like you want to write a readable docker file, it's good to define the envs, what environment variables your image are expecting. Otherwise you can pass it also, it's optional. Okay, there is one arguments we'll discuss later, we'll ignore it. Okay, that is something for next years, we can ignore it. I'm just running writing some stuff in .env file inside the container. That's what I am doing here. Okay, let's discuss this part. What is entry point? So let's suppose when you run your container, what will happen? Because your container, your code, everything is already packaged, it's built, everything is there already, right? Just you are doing npm start to serve your files from there. It's coming from cmd, mean command, right? But before cmd, before running the command, let's suppose you are running command here npm start. Okay, once my container started, just do run the command, serve my project. But let's suppose before that you want to do some stuff like you want to check the connectivity with your database server, or you want to download some files from Git, or download some secret, or anything you can say which is a kind of dependency for your project. It can be connection to Postgres, or maybe it can be migrations. Before running your application, you want to run some migrations. Mean you want to update some data in the database. That's where you can write in commands also. Let's suppose you want to see, okay, curl, download this stuff and put it here. But again, this command, it will be getting more and more and more. That's not a good practice. So to overcome this issue, there is something called entry point. What entry point mean? Entry point mean, okay, your container is started, and there will be one file called entrypoint.sh. It will be a shell script which will execute first, and then after that your Docker command will execute. So first entry point, if there is any entry point in your Docker file, first it will execute, and then after that entry point, it will decide when to execute your command. So let's see what it looks like, Docker entry point. So it's a simple bash script, shell script, where you can, okay, I am doing echo running database. You can run here any script like migrations, connectivity, download some stuff, put secrets, download secrets, file change, anything which you can see, which you can say, okay, it's a dependency for your application, like safety checks. And when you will do all of these things, if, else, while loop, everything, you can do it from here. But once you're done, okay, let's suppose if I remove this thing and okay, let me rebuild this image. Sorry, yeah, let me rebuild the image now, because now what I did, I have added the entry point now, right? Let me rebuild the image now. So, okay, let's see how we can rebuild. So you can see here, tag, this is a tag. If I will rebuild like this now, it will override my new release. Mean the new release, it will be also called latest, until I will provide my tag here. Tag, it will be like this. You put colon and then you can put tag like 1, 2, 1.0, 2.0. Tag is like versions. So let's suppose I will use 1.0 and I build the tag. So now I am creating one more image with the new version called ent dev tag 1.0. But in that image I have included my entry point also, just to see how entry point is working and how it will affect. So you can see your Docker file is almost same. This is some stuff for env, which is optional, it's not required. What we added extra is the entry point to see what will happen. Okay, so our image is built now. Same, we will run the image, but this time you can see if I will run like this, ent dev only, okay, and after that I will go to this one. You can see the application is working, right? Because I am using the old version. I didn't mention which version I want to use. So I will use like this, ent devops 1.0. So once you run, now let's see the difference. You remember last time when you run your this image, you can see the logs here, next CS is started and next start, and your application is available, right? Everything is there. But now let's start image with our new tag where we have added entry point 1.0. Once you run, you can see here entry to oh, sorry, entry to container run database connectivity download script. Mean my entry point is executing, but my code is not executing. So this means I can do here if else while do anything, check connectivity, anything. But after that, how can I proceed to my command cmd? For that, it's simple. I just put this command there, exact, and this parameter. This mean okay, give control or forward control to cmd. So whatever it's inside cmd, after that it will execute. So let's try to build one more image. Let's say it 2.0, and our new image is building now with, with the new version 2.0. And we will run this image and we'll see what will be the main difference. So while this image is building, if you have any questions or anything, you can just ping me on email or drop a comment. I'll do my best to reach out. Okay, the new version is downloaded. Let's run the new version 2.0. See here, entry to Docker point mean our script is running, entry point is running. Once it's done, it gives control back to cmd. And what cmd is doing next, yes, your project is started, and you can see here your project is working also. That's the main thing for entry point. That's how simple it is. Just control C. Okay. So you get the idea. What is command? What is user? Okay, what is entry point? Expose. Why we use expose? And these are all the commands, right? Okay. There is one thing called argument. Argument mean like right? If you want to pass some parameters while building, important thing here, it's not env, it's not the environment for container. Environment, you already know how you can pass the environment using CLI. Later we will see with the Docker Compose also. But argument, it is used while building the image. Just keep this thing in your mind. So let's go now and try to build the image with argument app name. So our argument name is app name because app name I am using in my applications here. It will reflect here argument. That's the simple. Argument will only be used when you are building the image, and it's not the environment variable. Env, it's something else. It's for containers, and it will live inside your container. But the argument, it will die. It will just use for the building. So let's see. Yeah, I have one example. I will just use that one. So command is same. Docker build tag. Let's suppose ent dev. Version is 3.0, and this version I am passing here build arg. Mean I want to pass arguments. Argument is app name which I defined here, and I want to pass argument name. Hey, welcome. And dot is again the Docker file, right? And I will build this, and Docker requires exactly one argument. I think we are missing something. Okay, I think it's maybe without space. Yeah, it is without space. Mean you can put strings like this. You can put argument like this. Hello world. Just don't put spaces. Okay. So our new image is building with argument. We pass the argument. Let's see, because that argument I am using, you can see here, I am using that argument in env, and that env I am using in my application. So our new image is built. Let's run that image 3.0. Let's see what will happen. Okay, refresh. See, your new version is updated, and we build this image with the help of argument, because argument, if you will see my Docker file, I am saying I am writing this argument inside my application as env, and in my code I just use the env for that argument for the explanation. That is how you can build any image with argument, right? Control C. That's everything about how you can build a Docker image with Docker file. There is, let's that's all for this project. Okay, we know we dockerize our node Next.js project, and we build it argument with arguments also, and we see it's working fine, right? So the same way I have created one other Docker file, you can see here, it's Docker file, and what this Docker file is doing, this Docker file, okay, it's based on Nginx. I am removing the default Nginx configs, and I am adding my config to Nginx and just running it. I mean, just I am putting my config, and I will build my own container. Okay, and this is the config which it's a normal, just simple Nginx config, where what I am doing, I am saying, okay, I'm listening on port 80. Whatever traffic comes on port 80, forward this traffic to my container, and my container name is Next.js, mean it's a service name. We'll see how this is working in a while. Okay, this is my other service. Same thing, nothing changed. Now here the important part comes. Remember I told you what is Docker Compose? It's a bunch of services. Mean you have multiple containers which running as a stack to serve your application. So I have here Docker Compose. Okay, let me just remove this one. It's for complete. Okay, let me remove this one also. Okay, so I have Docker Compose. Docker Compose mean this is the syntax version servicing, and here you will define your containers. Multiple. Let's suppose currently I have only one container, Nginx. So here what you can do, you have options. Either you can run the container, you can define here, okay, what is the image you want to use, or you can define your Docker file, the path to the Docker file. So there are two ways. Okay, let me just do one thing. Okay, let's go simple. Nginx. Okay, so what I am doing, I am saying, okay, I have one Docker Compose, and in services I have one service called Nginx that is using Nginx image, and this is the port. This is my local port, and this is the container port. It's same thing which we did. Remember when we are running this container, Nginx container, this is the Nginx image, container name, everything. So same thing which we did before with the CLI, now we are using with the Docker Compose. We are saying, okay, our image is Nginx, port 8080 here we say. Let's, okay, change it here also, port 8080. Okay, if you want to pass env, we'll see how we'll pass, and the name, everything. It's same thing, right? Let's go and run it. How we can run it? There is two commands you just need to remember for your Docker Compose. Let me get back So what's the command? Docker dash compose up. Up mean you want to install this, and there is one command down. Down means you want to delete it. That's all. Up means start, down means stop. And if you will, let's suppose I will run this docker compose up and I will press enter. You can see here what's happening. Container docker engine x1, it's created. This is the container name which it created. Okay, and then a network also created, docker default. So this network, you can change the name also, but it's based on your directory. Okay, so what this network is doing, like I told you that it will be a stack, like a separate space where all of your applications will will be there in the same network called docker default. So all every stack it have his own network. It can use other networks also, it depends on your use case, but by default it creates its own network. But you can define the network parameter in the Docker Compose file and you can connect with other networks as well. It's not issue. I'll drop some more videos which is already on my channel to see on more network side also. So you can see here Docker Compose up. That's all. It's running my Docker Compose file, and Docker Compose file is nothing, it's just the Docker containers information like which image, ports, and then we will see what other parameters. And you can see here the stack, it will look like this. Okay, this is the stack name Docker because it took from here. You can change it also. And inside one container is running, which is on running on port 8080. Let's go localhost port 8080. You can see this Nginx is running, and you can see the logs here. When you will press Ctrl C, it will stop the container. Stop mean it will just stop. It will not delete or do anything. Okay, okay. Container is stopped. You can see here also this container, it's exited, mean it's stopped. And if you will refresh, nothing. Again you want to run this, make it up, you can use docker compose up and the application will run. If you want to run in background, the same command will be used, docker compose up, but with -d, it will run in background. Okay, the same stuff, right? Okay, I will just delete this container. Okay, let's suppose along with that I want to use my application also which we built. I will say the container is my app image, which image we was using dev, right? And I want to use 3.0 version. Ports, which port I want to use. I know internally it is 3000, but outside I want to expose it, let's suppose 3001. Okay, now docker compose up. You can see here again the network is created, the docker Nginx container is running and my app container is also running. So if you come to here, you will see under this stack, these both containers are running. One container is running on port 8080 and other one is running on 3001, right? So now we know how to run multiple containers using Docker Compose. Here you can run hundreds of containers, any containers, no problem. Okay, how we can pass environment to our application, right? I want to pass environment to my application, right? So there is simple parameter called env and then you will put the environment. Let's suppose I want to pass one env test, and its value is hello. Okay, let me see. Maybe it's not the right syntax. Let me just quickly find. No problem. Just 1 minute. So sometimes you forget the syntax, but it's totally fine. Everyone does. Okay. Not even it's called environment. Okay, we cannot do Control Z. No problem. We'll create a new one. Okay. So let's suppose I am using image for my app dev and it is 3.0. Okay, it's called environment, and which environment? Let's suppose I want to pass HH. What's the value? It will be like this maybe. So let's go and run it. Let's see if our environment is there or not. So you can see here our app one is running. Sorry, this one, terminal env, and you can see your environment variable is passed here, hh hello. That's how simple it is to pass any environment variable. Okay, let me Control Z and let's go back to the original stuff. So you know this thing, right? This part you know. You can use the image, you can, okay, this is a parameter for container name. If you want to put your container name, this is how you can pass the secret config also. Okay, along with that, let's suppose you want to persist some data from your application. You want to mount the data from your container to your local. So that is simple. You have just block for volumes. Let's suppose you are saying that in my container, this container, there is path called DevOps. You want to mount it locally in the current folder, or you can give the path, or even you can mount it to any SharePoint or something like this remote storage. Again, it depends on you. But the point here is you are mounting from container to your local or to your server. So let's suppose if I will run this one, you can see here currently on left side there is nothing, but I am saying once you run, create a folder in my local like temp and mount DevOps path here. So let's go and run this container. Okay, this container is running, right? Okay, so this is Next.js pre and container name is Next.js build. I will go to this container, I will go to terminal. So what I say, you can see here on the left side this path is mounted, right? /temp DevOps. This is the permission, read write, or if you will use RO, that will be read only permission. So I'm saying just mount the path from DevOps to my local system. This means this directory and the directory inside this container, both of them are synced. You can mount directories, you can even mount the files as well. So let me go to this directory, DevOps. It is empty, right? I created one file called hello. File is created, right? I'm inside container. But if you will see here, you can see it's mounted to your local also, because you have mounted the same path to your local system. So both your local and the container, both paths are synced. So let's suppose if you will create a file here, it will reflect here also. See, and if you will remove, let's suppose this file here, it will be removed from here as well. That's the point for mounting. It's this concept is called this concept is called mount, volume mount, so that you can sync your container path with your local path, like for storage, for persistency, in case your containers get deleted or mean your container get crashed or anything. In that case, you will not lose your data, because once you run, okay, for example, let's suppose I will delete my this one docker compose down. It is used to delete. There is no command like destroy. I'm just checking. Okay, so I deleted my container, right? You can see here there is no container. Mean there is no data inside the container now. It's empty. So normally my DevOps path, it should be empty, right? Because it's a new container. There should be no data there. But because I have mapped this directory with my local system, and in my local system I have data already, so that data it will be mounted to my container also, in case if my container get crashed or something, my data will not be lost. So I will go again back to my this container terminal, cd devops ls. You can see this file, it's coming from here. So in this way you can get the persistence also. This is everything for volumes. Okay, great. There are two types. This is the first type, where you will mount directory. There is second type also. In second time, what you are saying, you will not mount directly to your local, but what you can do, you can mount with a separate volume that is managed by Docker. It's not most of the dev teams, they don't use this approach, but just for your knowledge, one option is to mount directly on a specific path. Second option is to create a volume like this. You can create a volumes, and then the volume name. It can be multiple, and these all volumes, it will be managed directly by Docker. You don't have, it will be inside your server, but it is managed by Docker. It will be under var lib some sort of this path, but it's only managed by the Docker, and you can just use the volume name and mount it. That's how this option also work. Either you will mount directly to your path, or you can use the volume name and mount it. Again, it's your option. But this option, first one, it's mostly used by the dev teams. Second option, it's maybe for the administrators, you can say that. That's all about the volumes. Okay, let's see this thing. Remember, in our Docker file, we have one entry point and one command. So good thing for command is, let's suppose when you are running your container in using Docker Compose or even Kubernetes or any orchestration or containerization platform, you can override the command also. How? Let's suppose before my command it was written here npm start, right? Npm start. But I want to override it. I want to say, okay, change my command to echo hello world. Let's see what this will do. Docker Compose up, and we will go back to our container. You can see there are only two containers running, right? Next.js one, Nginx one. That is not our container. Our container name was Next.js dash build, and that is closed, stopped. Okay, if I will go to logs, you can see here entry to container running database connectivity. that we know this is coming from entry point.sh, right? But second is hello world. Normally how it is, normally you can see entry to container. Normally after that it is Next.js start and it start running the project. But in this way, I did override my command and change command to anything. Before it was npm run. Now I am just using hello world. So in this way, you can override the command parameters to your running containers also. Okay, that's a okay. Let's come back to last one. So you have two options. Either you can run the image directly. Directly means this is a pre-built image which can be on your local, on your system, or Docker Hub or any registry or any public, right? It will pull the image, download the image and run that image. This is the first way you can run an image. Second way is you can say here, let's take example for this one. Second, okay, I'll just remove this parameter. Second case is, let's suppose take example for Next.js. We are saying rather than pulling image from cloud or registry or anything, just build it on real time. So whenever I will use Docker Composer, it will build my current image, mean a new image from my Docker file which we have created here. You can see here, build the image. Context is mean what's the path. Path is Next.js Docker, mean Next.js Docker because Docker Compose is here. Okay, while building the image, do I want to use any arguments? Yes, our argument is this one, Enterprise DevOps from Docker Compose. And this is again the environment. It's the same thing. So you can say that you are replacing this image path to the build path. So if you want to use any already built image, you can just use it here. Write the image name, tag, alas. Or if you want to run the image, build the image real time, you can use the build command with the arguments, right? Let's go and see how it is working. Okay, Control C. Okay, one thing you need to make sure when you are using build, you need to use double dash build parameter to force that build the image every time when you run it. Okay, so when you will pass the parameter double dash build, every time when you will use Docker Compose up double dash build, it will rebuild those images, this one and this one, which our customized Docker files every time, and then after building it will run this. Okay, and you can see here my applications are running, right? And this application, okay, my pre-built image, this is the image. You can say it's a pre-built because I pushed it, I stored it online. This is a pre-built image, and this image is running on localhost 3000, right? Localhost 3000. Okay, this was a pre-built image, but now which I am building on the runtime, this build one, it's not how I can access it because I didn't expose it, right? But I expose my Nginx server. Let's go and see what's on port 80. Localhost port 80. See, hello folks, Enterprise DevOps. It's this image which we are passing from here, and you can see this is the secret config. And if I will go to my this container and use env, you can see here secret config which is coming from here. Just that's the difference. So why I am using Nginx? Because what I am doing here, let's remove this part. This is just for the demo purpose. So we have two services here. One is Nginx and one is Next.js. Both have Docker files. So both of the images we are building real time. So let's suppose if you didn't change anything in your code or something, you don't need to use double dash build. If everything is same, you can just use normal Docker Compose up, okay? Because it will use the same image. But if you want to rebuild the image, you can just use double dash build option. If you have changed anything in your code or configuration, otherwise you can skip this build part because it's the same image, right? So let's run this application. Okay, you can see I have two services, right? One is Next.js app, which internally it should running on 3000, and Nginx, which is on port 80. But I am not exposing port for my Next.js, okay, because I don't want to access my this application directly. I want to access my Next.js project because with the proxy, because on Nginx I am doing caching, load balancing, these kind of stuff, right? And on the Nginx, if you will see the config I have defined here, if anyone comes on port 80, just put it forward upstream to this service Next.js. This name is coming from here, Next.js. Okay. So in the Nginx, we are saying if someone comes on port 80, just forward the traffic to our this service, Next.js. So if I will go now to port 80, you can see port 80 is normally it's for Nginx, right? And Nginx, it's forwarding my request to my internal application by proxy. That's how we have combined our both images, Next.js along with Nginx, and both of them are containerized. That's the thing. Both of my applications are containerized. Containerized means I can run them anywhere, in cloud, in any system, developers. Even I can build the image like we build locally, right? We can push it online also. So we'll push it now. But before that, there is one thing called scaling. Scaling means you can configure, okay, how many containers for your this application should run. Let's suppose if I will use it to, I am saying run two containers for my Next.js app and one container for Nginx. And then you will see the difference here. Okay, see here. This is the Nginx server, and these are the two containers in Next.js1 and Next.js2. And see that load, it will be balanced automatically with the Nginx server. So request comes to Nginx server, and Nginx will automatically forward the request to both of your containers because both of them are in same network and with the same service name. That's how you can do the scaling also. There are a bunch of other parameters also, like CPU utilization and these kind of things. I don't think so, no one cares, because companies, they move from Docker Compose to Kubernetes now. So I've created one video before for Kubernetes also. Just give it a shout also. Once you are comfortable with Docker, you can go to Kubernetes and you can do the same stuff. You can deploy the same stuff with the Kubernetes as well. Currently, we are deploying with the Docker Compose, right? But on Kubernetes, you can deploy with the Kubernetes approach. That is almost simple and much more comfortable, and Kubernetes will do some stuff more than Docker. Okay, just check out the other video if you want to give it a try. Okay, let's do one thing. I'll just reset this one. Okay, so let me go back to Next.js Docker project. We already know, right? We have built the image. So I want to push my image to registry. So currently I log into my oh, oh, I forget my this one, but I will show you the process because I am logging here also. Just give me a minute. Yeah, okay, thanks. So I created my account on Docker Hub. Basically, it's a public registry. You can create also as one, but you can have your own private registries also. Okay, and then I will go back to repositories and I will create one repository and I will create the repository name like live. Okay, live web, and I will create this. So you can see here I created my own repository live web. So if I want to push any image to this repository, I need to use this one, this tag. This is the version number and this will be the tag. So I will just copy this one and let's try to push any image which we built. Okay, so for that we need to build the image again. Okay, docker build. Okay, let's suppose I will change the build argument name live now. Okay, this is the tag which we need to change here also. So tag we copied from there. Tag is the path. You can see it's the path, right? So DevOps live web, and here we will put the version. I will say 1.0. Okay, and I will build it. It will build my image. Currently, it will build my image locally with this tag, and then we will push the tag here. Simple with the same everything. Just let him build. Okay. Before building, you need to tag your image with the same tag which your repository have when you want to push to registry or something. After that, you can use docker push and put your tag here. So first one is your, you can say it's your username or the company name, and then the repository name, and then the tag name. So we build image currently right for 1.0. We will push this tag. So first we build the image locally with the tag, and then after that we are pushing the tag. Now what is happening, this image it's going public now, or even to our private repository or anything. Okay, if you will see here in just few minutes this image it will be available because currently it's pushing, and you can say the image is pushed, right? So let's go and see. Okay, let me just do refresh. See 1.0 our image is pushed here now, and if you want to see more version you can see all of them here. Okay, that's all. That's great. We pushed our image. Let's go back to again docker compose. Okay, let me just remove this one. Okay, I don't want to build my image now. I just want to use my image directly, so I will use like this image. What is the image name? This is the image name. Main the path. Which version? It's 1.0. Let's go and docker compose. Now docker compose up because we are not changing anything. We are using the pre-built image. And for this build tag, we didn't change anything, so we don't need build. So docker compose up. And now you can see here, one minute, let me just do docker compose down to delete the old one. Okay, again docker compose up. And you can see your new images are running. See here, this is local image, and this it's coming from our live cloud here, or from registry, right? Okay, let's open the image now. Let's see what's the difference. See, it's live now. So you see how we build the image locally, then push the image to cloud. That's how it's everything, all about the Docker Compose. And then the next step which you can take is Kubernetes, deploy your application to Kubernetes. The same thing, just you will host it in the Kubernetes. There were some more advantages. That's the thing for DevOps also. This is everything all about DevOps, how you promote your applications from one version to another version, agile, everything. We'll be discussing more on DevOps later on also. That's all for this video. Thanks for watching. If you have anything, any question, any queries, just drop me an email or comment or anything, and let's catch up then. Thanks.